Yes, you did read the title correctly. NASA did fund a project that tried to get dolphins a seat in the UN. And this is a tale of friendship, love, and death. So sit back and enjoy. Our story begins in 1963 in St. Thomas, a small Caribbean island where an animal enthusiast named Margaret Lovatt was told about a laboratory that studied dolphins. Intrigued, she went to pay the place a visit, and there she met the man in charge, Gregory Bateson, who showed her around. She immediately developed a connection with the three dolphins they had there, Peter, Sissy, and Pamela. Remember Peter, because he's important later. Another man that worked there was Dr. John Lilly. He wanted to figure out a way to communicate with dolphins. He mapped their brains and did experiments, but was getting nowhere fast. Just as all hope was lost, one day John's wife heard one of the dolphins going wah, 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 which she assumed meant that the dolphin was trying to communicate with the humans. And excited by this new discovery, John published a book called Man and Dolphin, where he explained how dolphins could learn to speak and would eventually be able to join the UN to represent other marine animals. And this is where Margaret, the girl from the start, comes back into the picture. She was really excited by the idea of speaking dolphins and thought that she could make a real impact on the area. That the best way to achieve this was to live with the dolphins, 24/7. And like how a mother teaches a baby a language through exposure, she thought she could do the same thing for the dolphins, if she were to just get them so used to English that they would slowly pick it up over time. And whilst she was doing this, she pretty much lived in the pool alongside the dolphins, and literally had to do her work sitting from a chair suspended from the roof. That's how committed she was to this task. And over this time, she conducted many speech lessons with Peter, who was her dolphin of choice to research on, and was advancing in leaps and bounds. She could get Peter to say, "Hello, Margaret," and many other things, which I'll flash up on the screen now if you want to read. But this is when our story begins to take a turn for the worst. John Lilly was beginning to research LSD and what it could be potentially used for, and for some reason thought giving it to the dolphins would advance his cause. It was also during this time that Margaret and Peter, well, crossed the species barrier, if you get what I'm saying. This caused a lot of bad press, and interest in speaking dolphins was beginning to wane. Eventually, the project was cut entirely to make way for John's LSD experiments. And because Peter wasn't needed anymore, he was now moved to a small warehouse, where he lived in a much smaller tank with little to no access to light and sunshine. It was then when the unspeakable happened. Peter committed suicide. You see, dolphins have to breathe manually. It doesn't just happen for them like it does for us. So one day, he came up for air, then sunk down to the bottom, never coming up for another breath. Some say that he died of a broken heart, because Margaret was no longer with him, that he had had enough of life. But nevertheless, you can always hope that one day a dolphin will join politics. I mean, they certainly couldn't be worse than half the humans. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. And this is my first video, so if you're watching this in the future, it's probably really bad. But anyways, if you've got any cool animals or random stories that you want me to do a video on, leave them down in the comments. Yeah, I don't really have much to say, do I? Subscribe if you want, I guess, and see you around.